Hello there, friends. This is a totally different style of video, obviously, than I was used to filming for the trail. But I'm gonna do my best to do some kind of gear video rundown. I'm gonna hopefully answer some questions that got left for me on gear and just give you a rundown of all the gear that I had on the AT. It's gonna be a little chaotic. I don't really know how the best way to go about filming this is, but what I did is I took my pack and I basically just fully repacked it. So I have it here next to me. There's some gear pieces missing, partly because I don't know where they are, or they're at the other place where I'm living right now, and I forgot them when I was coming here. So I'm just gonna do my best and give it a shot and run through everything as best as I can. So we're gonna start with what would have been on the top of my pack if I had it actually packed up on trail. I don't have all these items in here right now, so I'm gonna run through them from my memory as best as possible. So the first bag would have been just a normal gallon-sized freezer bag like this, and it would have had my toiletries in it. So this would include, I've got my Leukotape in front of me here. I would have a toothbrush and toothpaste. I would have tweezers, nail clippers, tampons. I would have my toilet kit, so that would be one smaller Ziploc that had wipes in it, and then a small Ziploc inside that to put the dirty wipes after they were used. I think that's pretty much it for the toiletries bag. I didn't carry soap of any kind. I didn't carry a hairbrush of any kind. Actually, I did at the beginning. I carried a little tiny Dr. Bronner's and I carried a little tiny hairbrush. But because my hair, well, it's long now, but because it was so short when I started the trail, I just wasn't using it at all. So I sent that stuff home pretty early on. But that's what would have been in my toiletries bag. Then the second one would have been another bag like this, and that would have been the electronics bag. So that would include my phone charger. So I have an iPhone, so I would just have my normal length Apple charger. What I had was my Anchor battery. It's actually plugging in the light that's here right now, but it's just an Anchor battery, like the classic one that a lot of people have. Then I would have had the charger for the Anchor, the charger for my Garmin. My Garmin, as a lot of you saw, was up on my chest for a long time. I had the Garmin Mini, so I'd have had the charger for that. I had not an Anchor, I don't know where it is. I'm sorry, there's some gear missing in this video, but I had basically a double USB plug so that I could plug in my Garmin and my battery at the same time into the wall. And then I had a separate just Apple cube so that I could plug in all three, my phone, my battery, and my Garmin all at the same time. I also kept my wallet in that bag. I just carried, it's pretty big actually for a trail wallet, but I knew that I wanted to have at least something sufficient so that even if my bag got wet, my wallet was safe. I had all my cards in here, they're still in here. But yeah, I carried my driver's license, my health card, my credit cards and stuff. Most people, I'm guessing, wouldn't carry so much, but because I'm from Canada, I just wanted to have it with me. And then I also actually carried both of my passports the whole trail. So I'm Canadian, I have dual citizenship though, I'm American as well. Because I was in the States, I wanted to carry both. So I carried both my passports in that wallet, and then my journal that I carried on trail was also in that bag. So yeah, there's lots of fun stuff in here, journal entries. But yeah, I had a pen, and I believe that's all that was in there. Next up, that would have been layered in the pack. Sometimes it was on the very top, sometimes it was underneath the two bags that I just talked about. It depended on how full it was, but that would be my food bag. So obviously I don't have food in here right now, but I just carried this outdoor research roll top bag, and then the clips on the bottom go up to the top and you can cinch it down. This is nothing special. I don't think it's meant to be like a food bag, but it worked for me. It was water resistant but not waterproof, so if it was out like on a bear cable or something overnight in the rain, stuff in there would be wet in the morning, but if it was just raining lightly, this did the trick. But in here right now I do have my cook set and stuff, loud. So that's all I have in here right now. So what I carried is this 750 mils Boundless Voyage pot slash mug. It's got the mug handles here, the handle here, and then the lid, 750 mils. The stove that I started with was just like a little one from Amazon. It was probably like $20, and then about like pretty close to the end of the trail actually, I changed and got the Ollie Camp stove. So this is that. It's bigger than the one that I carried, but this one did the trick really well. Like this boiled my water way faster than the one that I had started with. So yeah, that was great. I carried 2 lighters actually. It was one of those things that I was just kind of always worried that if my lighter went out, that would be a problem. So I carried 2. And I have my spork here. I believe it's a Toaks, but let me double check that. Nope, it's not. It's a Tight Hugo titanium spork, long handle, which is great because you really gotta get in there sometimes. I had a bandana that protects your pot from anything inside. So because the pot can be wet when you're putting it away, and then you put the gas can inside the pot, it like corrodes the bottom. You see a little bit maybe in there, but it basically protects the ring around there. I actually found this in a tree. I didn't have one when I started because I forgot one. So thank you to that person who lost their bandana in a tree because it helped me. And then all of that would go in this bag, which came with the pot. And that is the cook set and the food bag. The next layer of gear that would have gone in the bag would have been whatever book I was carrying at the time. So I'm holding Verity by Colleen Hoover here as the example. This was the first Colleen Hoover book I ever read, and it was, I think, the second book that I read on trail. If you watched all my through hike videos, you might have seen me talking about books here and there. As you can see, I love books and I'm a bit of a collector. So I had my book. My books were probably the most protected item I had in my pack. They were the only thing that was double bagged at all times. So like all my books that I carried on trail ended up in really nice condition, and I sent them all home because why not like pay double to send it all the way home? So yeah, I've got all my books that I read on trail, and they will be going on this shelf somewhere very soon. So now I'm just gonna start pulling stuff out of my pack and talking about it as we go. So next layer is my hoodies. I did not see anyone else on trail that had these, I think, the whole time. Maybe like one weekender had a pair. They were so fantastic though, and again, if you watched my vlogs on trail, you'll know how much I was always cold, and that is a thing that is in my everyday life as well, which is why I had these in the first place. I got these at MEC, which is Mountain Equipment Co-op, or more recently Mountain Equipment Company. It's a Canadian brand. They are called like the Hut boots, I believe, and they're basically just like down booties. They cinch up at the ankle and down on the foot here. They've got a bit of a hard sole, so like I walked in them outside sometimes. Like if I was like using the bathroom in the middle of the night from the shelter, I would just leave them on. But I slept with these on inside my sleeping bag. They kind of were tight in there in the toe box, but it was worth it for me. And then I also had them like to walk around the hostel like slippers or something when we were in town. So I absolutely love these, and I joke that they're like one of my favorite pieces of gear, but they really are one of my favorite pieces of gear. Next in here is my clothing bag. So this bag is just a cinch top. I believe it's waterproof, or at least water resistant, and I got it at REI. It also has a handle down here, which is pretty helpful, and it was super helpful as a laundry bag in town. Just run it into the laundromat. So I'm just gonna pull stuff out one at a time here. On top are my 2 pairs of Darn Tough socks that I carried. I had these long before the trail. I've got one green pair, one blue pair, and they still have no holes in them. I have never replaced them. I walked in them the whole trail, and I love them. Next is my pair of waterproof socks that the camp that I work at, one of the owners, Jason, he actually gave these to me right before I started the trail. He was like, why don't you just take them? Just take them in case. I got them like for free and I want you to have them. So I did wear them, especially like when it was raining in town and I was wearing my Crocs. I would wear these and just, it was so nice to have a dry pair of socks to put on that were gonna stay dry. And sometimes I walked in them, sometimes I just slept in them, but yeah. I don't know the brand. Let me see what the brand is. they are Dex Shell waterproof socks. The next thing in here, this is gonna be out of order a little bit, but so this is my mid layer for sleeping in. It is also from Mech. It's just a black, I believe it's merino. So that was super comfy. It's just a long sleeve black shirt. So under that, let me see if I can find it so it's actually in order. Let me dump this out. That seems like the way to go. Under that, I would wear my base layer, which is like a thermal ski shirt type thing. And my favorite thing about this shirt is that it has thumb holes, which are very important because then my hands stay warm. So I wear this and then this to bed. And then of course, it's the North Face fleece hoodie with nice zip pockets. You know what? It's really weird seeing all these clothes now since I've been back for so long. I wore them every day for so long, and it's weird seeing them out now after wearing street clothes. But yeah, so I wear that on top. And then I actually left my puffy, I don't have it with me right now, but it's just a Patagonia Nano Puff. I wore that on top. Then for the bottoms, I have these, again, just like thermal leggings. They're like ski thermal leggings. They're like fuzzy on the inside. So I wore those underneath. And then when it was really cold, I would wear my Music fluffy thermal leggings on top. So I wore 2 layers of pants to bed. This is all to bed, by the way. It took me like 5 minutes to put all my clothes on because there were so many layers. Then I had my sleep socks. These were super warm. I believe they're the brand Wigwam. Yeah, Wigwam. They are super, super warm wool socks. Love them. And so what I would do is I would wear these underneath and then the waterproof socks on top sometimes, and then the boots on top of that. So I was seriously layered up. And then, as you well have seen, if you watch the videos, I had my buff, which is from my camp. I chose to carry this very early on in planning, and I love it so much. So it was this, honestly, favorite piece of gear. Like, is it the most useful? Is it the most important? No, but I literally wore it every day, whether it was for warm purposes or bug purposes, or I had it on as a headband sometimes. I used it as a towel a couple times. So many purposes, but more so just like, you know, it was a piece of something that I really cared about from home. So it was really important to me. And then I also slept in my gloves pretty often. These gloves, I bought them in Hot Springs, I believe. They are fingerless, but they have the Velcro that goes over the top layer, and they fell apart pretty quickly, but I carried them all the rest of the way. And then I had my toque, which again, I don't have with me, but I wore all of that to bed. And then for hiking clothes, I lost my pair of shorts in, I think, not Lincoln, New Hampshire, but one of the towns up there. And so, and my track pants went to the garbage bin. They got holes in them. So I ended up with these like scrub pants from Walmart. They did the trick. They have lots of pockets. They're just kind of lightweight, like track pants. And then I had one long sleeve hiking shirt, this blue one. I think the brand's K7. Or KT, Carry Tra. Doesn't really matter. And I also have a short sleeve hiking shirt. This is definitely from Mech. And then of course, you gotta have underwear. So I carried 2 pairs of underwear. I lost one in a tree at one point and bought a new pair, but that is all of the clothes. Okay, this next layer includes my emergency blanket. This I got at the NOC, I believe. I only slept in it like twice. It was mostly used as a ground sheet, either due to rain, dirt, or just cold, just to give you that extra little bit of thing off the ground. But then, like I said, I slept with it over my sleeping bag, I think 2 nights. So it's mostly a ground sheet. Next is my pillow. I kept it in this little bag here, and then it's just a little inflatable pillow. I prefer to sleep on my side. And so the pillow was really great. I never regretted having it. I didn't feel like it was an extra piece of gear. I felt like it was a required piece of gear. So that is that. Then I had my bug net, which if you guys noticed, I only had for a very short period of time. Poet from Shaw's Hiker Hostel in Monson gave it to me, and it was fantastic, very, very required. And then the next is my sleeping bag. So we're basically the bottom of the pack now. My sleeping bag is the North Face. I believe it's called the Cat's Meow. It is, yeah, the Cat's Meow. It's a synthetic bag. It's not down, which was actually great because even when it was wet, it was still perfectly warm. It's a 20-degree bag, and then I also had a liner inside, which added 15 degrees Fahrenheit, and it keeps your sleeping bag clean. You can just take this out and throw it in the wash, and then you're good to go. So that is that. And now I'm gonna go through the stuff that I kept in the outside pockets of my pack, or on the outside of the pack. So in the pockets, I have spikes. I carried spikes at the beginning of the trail because I started so early, and then I sent them home in Irwin, Tennessee. And then when I was going into the whites and stuff, I thought it would be wise to pick up a pair again. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to have mine sent out because I didn't think of it far enough in advance, and because it's cross-border and stuff, it's just like expensive and slow. So I picked up this pair and then carried them for the rest of the trail. Next, I have some bug spray, 100 deep. This was given to me by a woman at the Hanover Adventure Tours hostel in Hanover. Lifesaver, seriously. Next in this side pocket is my water bladder. This is the Knock Outdoors bag. This is 2 liters. I mostly carried it empty and just used my Smart water bottle, which is a liter. This water bottle I got at mountain crossings at Neal's Gap, so mile 30 on the trail, and carried it all the way with me, never lost it, never broke it. And then I would use this at night mostly for cooking water and stuff, or occasionally if I knew there was a longer water carry, I would fill this up. Then my Deuce of Spades trowel was in the side pocket. You gotta have easy access, of course. Then my tent stakes were on the outside. I just found it was easier to pack them on the outside than actually in the tent bag. And then it was really easy to grab them if I needed them. And then I had rope. This is for bear hangs on the few occasions that I did that at the beginning of the trail, but mostly it was used for a clothesline or various gear hanging endeavors. I think that's all in there. Next, on the front of my pack, as you guys would have well seen while I was hiking, I kept my sunglasses, of which I lost and then got these pair. And then I kept on this carabiner bandana. This was used for wiping water, sweat, or anything else that you need it for during the day. Now I'm going to talk about the hip belt pockets on the pack. So in the one side, I kept my Sawyer Squeeze water filter, which you know, I actually never really back flushed it like the whole trail, but it is definitely much slower now, so I will need to do that for the next time I use it. In that pocket, I also carried a compass, which I never ever used. This was a last resort emergency item, and I did not mind carrying it because it's very small and light. In this pocket also is my knife, which actually did not come with me. I would not have been allowed to carry this on the plane, so I didn't bring a knife with me because I was traveling internationally. I actually found this in a tree at Neal's Gap. It was open like this, and it was jammed straight into a tree, and so I needed a knife, and I took it with me and I carried it all the way. I actually meant to leave it in like Maine somewhere, like jammed into a tree, maybe even with a note that said like, please bring back to Georgia, but I forgot to do that. So it came home with me because I checked my bag so it could come with me. And then the other pocket included this Canadian flag, which I carried all the way. I meant to sew it onto my pack and I never got around to it, so it came with me. In my hip belt pocket, I had extra hair ties. And I had a chapstick in that pocket too, but I don't know where it's gone now. Oh, and also, since I have a trend of apparently finding things in a tree, this bandana I also found in a tree. Moving on, some extra things that I had on the outside of my pack. I had this Fox 40 whistle. It sat kind of under my Garmin and under my bandana on my shoulder strap. And again, never had to use it, but it was one of those emergency things that I was willing to carry. I also had these two itty bitty tiny carabiners. They were just useful for latching things together. I also used them if I ever felt at all questionable about where I was tenting. I would use these to actually hold the zippers of my tent together from the inside, so that if somebody had tried to open my tent, it would have pulled the zippers and it wouldn't have been able to open it, and at least I would have woken up in time to deal with whatever was happening. But I never actually truly felt unsafe on the trail, and I never had any issues like that. What else? Random stuff. Oh, more things that I found in a tree are the two carabiners that I kept on the outside of my pack here. They held my Crocs, which are not with me, but these two little carabiners, they're the same. They have a twist lock, and I found these in a tree in, I believe, Tennessee or maybe Virginia. So that is the majority of all that stuff. So for sleeping pads, I started the trail with this Nemo tensor, but unfortunately in the Shenandoah, I actually got some holes in it and I couldn't attach them. I couldn't figure out where they were for a really long time. And I actually just ended up sending it home because I couldn't be bothered to fix it, but I did mark where the holes are, so I can fix that later. But what I basically ended up doing, because I had been thinking about it anyway, was just grabbing one of the accordion pads. I had one at home, but again, cross-border and timing, I just didn't have time to get it sent to me, so I just grabbed one of the accordion pads. This one's from Walmart. The one I have at home is actually nicer, but yeah, I had wanted to carry a sit pad kind of. I had thought that it was a good idea for a while, so I figured I might as well just grab one, use it as a sleeping pad and a sit pad. So it's all like torn up on the sides from hitting trees and stuff because I kept it on the outside of my pack because it was just, I didn't like how it sat if I tried to put it inside. And I think last, but certainly not least, is my tent. The tent bag is totally shredded and falling apart. And it had been falling apart for a very long time, but I had the Z-Packs Duplex, very popular tent on the trail. It is a duplex, a 2-person tent. It is single wall with the little bathtub. I did not use a ground sheet of any kind with it. It worked great. It uses your trekking poles. Oh, trekking poles, that's something I forgot. Anyway, the tent uses trekking poles to set it up. And then I had my Z-Packs tent stakes. And speaking of, my trekking poles are over here. These are the Lecky Lassa trekking poles. I got these in Daleville, Virginia, after my original pair of black diamonds. One of them got lost to a river, and because I need them for my tent, I needed a good pair that go together. So that is, I believe, all of my gear. Some stuff that I don't have, like other than what I just talked about, was my rain jacket. It is a Columbia rain jacket. I had it long before the trail and it was great. Oh, and I have these over here. These are not the shoes I had on trail. I just bought a new pair, but I wore 4 different pairs of shoes on trail, and not just like 4 pairs of shoes, 4 different kinds of shoes. So I did not have my shoes dialed in before I started hiking. I had a pair of Salomon boots that I had been hiking in BC because I was out there in the winters and stuff, and I liked having the higher heel or the higher ankle in the snow. But I had the North Face, I think they're called Vectives. They were okay, but they really, really pinched in on my heel. Then I had the Hoka Speed Goats. I think they were just too wide for my foot. They gave me a lot of blisters. Then I had the Ultra Timp 4s, I believe, and they were my favorite one by far. They were awesome. I love them so much, which is why I bought a new pair when I got home. And then the last ones I wore were La Sportiva. I do not know the model that they were. But yeah, so these are my new Ultras that I just bought this past week. I had them shipped from Montreal, and they're great. So I think that is all of the gear, at least everything I can think of right now. One more kind of random thing that I carried was a full-size microfiber towel. It is truly full-size, like full shower towel size. I used it actually quite a bit, so that's why I never ended up sending it home, and it's microfiber, so it's really light. The brand is Rella Free, and it was fantastic. I used it for swimming, I used it for showering, I used it for drying off gear, I used it for keeping stuff in my tent dry, and that was great. So yeah, I'm glad that I carried this even though pretty much nobody else was carrying a towel. Also, I cannot believe I almost forgot my actual pack. My pack is the Osprey Ren 65. It's probably bigger than what I actually needed, but then again, I used like all the space in here. I don't know if I would have needed such a big pack if I had hiked later in the year, but because I hiked early in the year, I had a lot of cold weather and winter stuff that personally, because I was so cold all the time, I needed the entirety of the hike. So if I had hiked starting in maybe April, and it had been warmer the whole time, I wouldn't have needed such a big pack to keep everything in, but it was great. It held up really well. Nothing broke on it, nothing snapped. There's like a few little tears here and there, but really she's looking good. All of my gear was great. For the most part, I have no real complaints about anything, which is really cool. I didn't spend a lot of time switching out gear while I was on trail. I pretty much started with everything, or I pretty much finished with everything that I started with, except for stuff that I no longer needed and sent home. But I didn't really swap anything out because it wasn't working and I wanted something different. So that is everything. I kind of already answered like my favorite pieces of gear as I was going. I answered stuff that I didn't really use because I didn't need it, like my compass and my whistle, but again, those are things that I was willing to carry for emergency purposes. But I hope you guys like watching me talk about all this gear. I'm really not a gear person. I would get asked on trail by other hikers, like, oh, what do you think of your tent? Or how did this hold up for you? And I was like, I mean, it works, it's a tent. Like, I have no complaints whatsoever. But yeah, I'm not really a gear person. So obviously I have nice gear and I invested in it and it's important, but I'm not really a gearhead. So that is all I have for today. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. I'm gonna film a full post-trail Q&A, so stay tuned.